Welcome everyone to another one of our free Friday community classes. A special thanks to everybody who is supporting my work on Patreon. If you want to get in on all the extras, there's a link down in the description. We'd love to see you there. So this week, we're getting into the magic of plant spirit invocations. This is an incredibly simple but far-reaching and powerful practice to get down. And I think once we go through the steps and I give you a couple of examples, you're going to be a pro. Now, invoking the plant spirits is important because it's a way for us to reach through the hedge, to reach through the natural membrane, the natural veil that separates our world from the world of spirit. And these invocations are like little gateways that help us open and connect more intimately to the plant spirits, even when we're sitting right in front of one, right? We still do these invocations in my practice because it helps us to connect more personally to the plant spirit, to align and attune to their virtues, to get clear about our relationships, and to really just open the ways between us. So I use invocations all the time. One really cool little side benefit of invocations is this. If you can't write one, if you're unable to follow the steps that I'm going to give you to write an invocation, it's a good indicator that it's not time for you to work with this plant spirit yet, right? That you could invest a little bit more study, a little bit more meditation, a little bit more work in learning about this person before you call on them and ask for something. So if we cannot write an invocation, it usually means the relationship needs a little more work before we do that, and that by investing in that relationship in advance, we are nourishing the sacred cycle of reciprocity, and we are showing up not as humans asking for more, but as sorceress folk asking to be engaged in a dynamic relationship of give and receive. So, how do invocations work? Basically, the way that I do them, we are using the specific virtues, vitality, botanical expressions, folk names, scientific names, basically anything that we can conjure up about a specific plant to reach them, right? So it's kind of like if I wanted to get in touch with you and I knew your full name, it might be easier to find you online. Like if I was trying to find you on social media, right? It would be even easier for me if I knew your address and I could send you something in the mail and that would get delivered directly from me to you. It would even be more effective if I knew your phone number and I could send you a text message or call you, or your email address, right? So pulling in these virtues, these aspects of the plant spirit, is a way to get closer and closer and closer into just getting to reach them directly, to invoking the specific spirit we're trying to call forth in a more direct and powerful way. So before we go on, I'm going to give you two examples of two invocations today. We're going to start with Linden and end with Mullen. And we'll start with Linden so that you can kind of have an idea of what these invocations look like, and then what we'll do is come back here and kind of pick it apart, and I'll tell you all of the different pieces that went into making this invocation what it is. Great Linden, you who line our streets, giving shade and beauty to all who pass under your canopy, with heart-shaped leaves you soothe all anxiety and fear in the center of my being. Mighty Tila, your fragrant blossoms intoxicate all beings with their fragrance in the summer heat of June. Your chocolatey seeds emerge from yellow-white flowers and bless all who see them. Great Linden, I call you from the green realm and ask you to join me here in this work. So, a really simple, really personal invocation to Linden using lots of information that I know about this tree based on my personal experience and my years of study with them. What we see happening in this invocation is, again, using specific virtues, folk names, scientific names, medicinal applications, magical applications, the botanical form, the physical expression of the plant to refine and dial in tighter and tighter and tighter. In our example, I used both a folk name, Linden, and a scientific name, Tila, to reach out to Linden. And I really like to do both whenever possible. I mentioned the botanical features of the plant, that Linden has heart-shaped leaves, that the flowers are yellow-white and incredibly fragrant, and that they blossom in the summer heat of June. So again, with every single one of these, we're narrowing down which plant we could be talking about, right? If we were playing Guess Who, with every single line of the invocation, it should be more and more obvious which plant among the countless numbers of plants we are talking about. Mentioning the medicinal or magical or both aspects of the plant. So in this case, I mentioned that Linden unwinds anxiety in the heart center, right? Very important for me personally, but also one of the ways that I work with Linden most here in my shop. So that's a really direct line of connection for me to this particular tree. You might bring in any personal experience. For me, I mentioned that walking under the canopy of Linden is beautiful and gives a blessing to everybody who see it, because this is a tree that commands a lot of attention where I live. There's a lot of linden here, and people are often found looking at the linden, looking at the leaves, looking at the squirrels, the bees, the butterflies who hang out around them. So making it personal, making it relevant to where you are in the world or to what your relationship. You could certainly bring up any personal experiences you've had. Linden, who healed me of this, or great Tila, who helped me last year with this issue, right? Again, just narrowing down who it is you could be talking about. And I also really like to always acknowledge the realm of spirit in my invocations. In the Linden invocation, I say, I call you from the green realm. So I'm acknowledging the fact that I'm trying to reach into the root of Linden, not just Linden as they show up here in their tree form, but their pure spiritual essence, the Linden spirit who exists in every Linden tree. So I think that's an important thing as well. You can work that in whatever way feels appropriate to you. So how to write an effective invocation. Use what you know. Again, rely on folk and scientific names, botanical features, medicinal virtues, magical virtues, personal experiences. Take those 5 points and craft them into a very simple, one paragraph, a few lines, it doesn't matter, invocation. Lean into the most celebrated aspect of a plant's virtues. So if you're working with a plant that has a virtue that everybody knows about, right? It's the thing that plant is famous for. Don't hesitate to use that particular virtue in your invocation, because it's already got a lot of power behind it. There's already a lot of energy and connection behind it, both consciously and subconsciously. So don't overlook those. Be as poetic or as organic as you like. Mine tend to be pretty kind of flow state. Sometimes I have written them and tried to make them rhyme, or tried to make them really tight and concise, because I intend to use them long term. And with these invocations, the more you use them, the longer you use them, the more powerful that they become, until they start becoming magical in and of themselves, right? So you can spend as much time on them as you want, or they can be more organic. And sometimes, actually, more often than not, I will recite an invocation that just comes from the heart, in the moment, using everything I know about that plant to try to coax them further into our world from their own green realm. Ask directly for what you need. You'll see an example of this here when we do the Mullen invocation here in a moment. Don't beat around the bush. If you're asking for something, if you just want to communicate with the plant, or you're asking them to help you with a divination or a magical working or medicine or meditation, say that. The plants appreciate us laying bare our intentions. Just ask for what you want. Ask for what you need. Get it out of the way so that you can focus on the relationship and the connection, and not have to stress out so much about, asking for what you need. And what I also like to do if I write these in advance is recite them several times and make sure they feel good. Make sure they roll off the tongue nicely, that I feel that I've said everything I want to say, that these things ring true for me, and that they make sense for my relationship with this plant. So, with that, one final reminder, and then we're going to get into another example here, that invocations are an ask, okay? We are asking the plant spirit to show up more on our side of the hedge, to be more present in our working, to bring their power into whatever it is we're doing, even if that's just sitting with them, to communicate or to just share space with them. So we're asking them to give something, and in good sorcery, we are always participating intentionally and consciously in the cycle of sacred reciprocity. So always bring a gift, please. This gift can be something as simple as offering your exhalation intentionally to the plant several times, pouring a libation of water, reciting a song or a poem, making an energetic offering in meditation, or making a physical offering that's appropriate and supportive of the plant and their environment. Give something. And I generally give first, so I will first make the offering to the plant and then invoke them, but you can do that in reverse if it feels better. But that cycle of give, receive, give, receive, give, receive, that's where the power is. That's the well of our power. So if we're only asking, we may get much, but we're not getting even a percentage of what's possible if we were to give first and then create a space within ourselves and our life for that plant to then come and fill in which case we then reciprocate, and then they reciprocate, and then we reciprocate, and now we're living in relationship with the plant spirits. So always bring some gift, some offering, no matter what it is. Should be something meaningful to you and something that participates in that sacred cycle. So here's another example of Mullen, and in this invocation, I'm invoking Mullen here in the shop to bring a specific level of power to a Mullen tincture that I have prepared for a client. Mighty Mullen, reaching tall like a torch, your flame yellow flowers give us guidance and direction. The whirl of your flannel soft leaves soothe the sacred act of breathing. Your strong roots strengthen our frames and our postures. Verbascum thapsus, reaching high and low and in the 8 directions, I call to you and ask your blessing on this tincture. Fill it with your medicine and magic and the presence of your great spirit. So once again, with this example, we see the use of folk name Mullen and scientific name Verbascum thapsus. I'm mentioning a lot of botanical qualities of Mullen, that they grow tall, that they have yellow flowers that look like a torch, that their leaves grow in a whorl along the ground and are flannel soft. I mentioned the medicinal virtue that Mullen has with the lungs, with nourishing the lungs, with the roots and the frame, the magical virtues of the flowers and offering us guidance when we are lost, giving us access and opening the ways, and then wrapping up with asking for what I need and saying, I'm making this medicine for somebody and I'm asking for Mullen to place an extra blessing here to really infuse this tincture with the fullness of what's possible, right? So another example there. So you can write these for literally anything. Please practice this, play with it when you're out in your own backyard, when you're walking around, hiking, going around the block. Stop at the plants that you know most and try to come up with a little spontaneous invocation as an offering. You're just showing off a little bit how much you know about them and how much of their wisdom you carry in your heart and in your mind and in your hands. And it's a really beautiful way to inspire yourself to get to know the plants more, but you will also feel a qualitative change in the way that the hedge opens and in the way that we are able to engage with that plant spirit. These invocations are also really lovely in situations where we cannot be in the physical presence of that plant. So maybe we're doing ritual in our living room, or we're trying to call out to a plant spirit that doesn't grow where we live, or maybe it's the dead of winter and we don't have access to that plant, but we're making medicine with the plant we harvested in the autumn. These invocations can help part the hedge and call them into our space so that we can be in the presence of their spirit, even when we're not in the presence of their physical form. So Hopefully you enjoy that. If you have any questions, of course, drop it in the comments below. Thank you again to folks who are participating over on Patreon with all of our advanced monthly classes, the Q&A sessions, the courses. Always very much appreciate seeing you all there, engaging with you in deeper ways there. And until next week, take care. I'll see you soon.